Thank you, Caitlin. I think the question I wanted to take is, you said, what is the most progressive stance that you've taken? Well, I can tell you as a state legislator, just about every bill that I vote on are progressive values that represent the people of the state of Maryland. Chris talked about income inequality. Absolutely, that's a huge issue in our nation. Healthcare for all, yes. I'm going to continue to fight for that when I get elected to Congress. Medicare for all is exactly where we need to be. You know, in a nation where we provide public education to every student, it's not in our federal constitution to do so, but we do it. Why do we do it? Because we know when every child is educated, we as a nation benefit from this. Likewise, if we're willing to say that education is important, why wouldn't we say that every child that enters the school system should have health care? Every individual should have health care in this country. This is the #1 reason why Americans claim bankruptcy. This is not right. We are one of the richest nations in the world. We should be able to provide health care for every individual in this country. We need to raise the minimum wage. We need to make sure that people get paid at least $15 an hour. We need to make sure our unions are strong. We need to make sure that we expand earned income tax. We need to make sure that we provide greater safety nets for every American. Because there will be situations in all our lives that is not in our control. And we as a nation must come together and help the individuals to be able to succeed. And I want to make sure also that we have pre-K through 16. That means we should not be stopping any student that wants to pursue higher education. We need to make sure college is available, affordable, and in my case, free to every individual that wants to pursue it. Thank you. Thank you.
Roger Manna.
So the question is, any question that has been asked previously? Oh boy, there's been some really interesting ones I'd like to answer. I wish I had the time to do it. But I'll answer the question that was just responded to in terms of the most progressive thing. You know, for me, I have tried my whole career in Congress, working for 3 members of Congress, in the House of Delegates, in the State Senate, to be loyal to the issues and the communities that I came from, and to try to, I've been trying my whole life to right that economic wrong that took my dad away from me, that screwed up my mom's life and my life. And at the core of that, I think, as I said before, is an economic injustice. So the thing I think I'm most proud of, and the thing that's most near and dear to my heart, which I've tried to advance throughout my career, is leveling that economic playing field. And you see it everywhere, and I've tried as hard as I can to summon that horror that I had as a kid, because I think it's important to remember where you came from. I've seen the same monsters in Annapolis, just with $1,000 suits, as I saw in the streets of Hell's Kitchen in New York growing up. They're the monsters who attack good union jobs, who burn garbage, who try to repeal collective bargaining, who try to repeal or eliminate women's rights, who go after kids in foster care. I've gone up, as I mentioned before, I've gone up against those bullies my whole life, and I'm proud of that. I think that makes me progressive. Maybe not in terms of the larger issues that we're so proud of, that Delegate Miller and I have been working for, marriage equality, the DREAM Act, ending the death penalty, which we did. But political courage is very progressive, in my opinion. I think it's the most important quality in an elected official, and that's what I'm most proud of.
Thank you. And next, Chris Hersey.
Yeah, I think the one thing, again, this motivated me to run is the level of money in politics. Like I've said, I've been in and around this city, this area, the DMV area, Washington, D.C., Capitol Hill. I've seen politics change over the last 10, 15 years and just get worse. You know, the one big problem is not only do we have a lot of money in politics, but it's incentivizing groups of politicians to treat it like a club and not understand that their job is in public service under public trust. If anyone's ever seen the House Republican creed before, it says House Republicans are for House Republicans. They're not for Senate Republicans. They're not for National Republicans. They're for House Republicans. This is the mindset of an entire part of our legislative branch under one party, and we need to get away from that. We need to restore elections back to the people. We need to overturn Citizens United. We need to get money out of politics, and we need to restore it to the people before we, as Democrats, won't even have anything to stop the triage, the basic triage that we need to keep Social Security and other social services solvent. Because Republicans will use this. Oh, well, I need another tax cut before we have a conversation about Social Security or Medicaid funding. We can take this back by having a forward-leaning vision on what America can be. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I see the future and I understand the level of technology that's coming that's affecting you everywhere. And if we don't take care of this problem now, corporations will just blanket districts like this with ads that many of you, frankly, don't even want to see, because they're just trying to get just enough people to become either apathetic or concerned that they turn you off to politics, and this is wrong and this needs to stop. So thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nadia Hashimi.
Thank you. So I'm going to answer the question on a more progressive value and what that might be for me. For me, being progressive on a value means taking a stand on something that may not affect the majority of people. For me, that means taking a look at what happens to our children. Specifically, as a pediatrician, having worked in an emergency room, I have seen children come in handcuffs. And I've watched these children have their first intersection with the criminal justice system and know that that intersection is going to have a lasting impact on them. I believe that we should not put handcuffs on our children. We need to empower them, invest in them, believe that there's a pathway for them. The human brain, if we attach science to it, the human brain is not fully formed in a teenager. We cannot assign to them adult responsibilities without providing some kind of safety net for them. We don't tackle the social issues the way we need to, and yet we expect them to rise out of it. We don't give them the schools that they need, and yet we expect them to come out of there educated. So I am for tackling recidivism, getting rid of juvenile detention, moving towards rehabilitation programs, and making sure we don't put our kids in solitary confinement and expect them to come out of it anything better than they were coming in.
Thank you. So next we have, excuse me, next is Chris Graves.
Okay, I'm supposed to choose one of these, and much like in the earlier round, one of the respondents couldn't make up his mind. He needed to respond to a lot of them. There are two in particular that appeal to me. One is this notion of what would I do to improve healthcare, and the other is regional disparity. Let me go with healthcare because I had a conversation with one of the members of the audience, and we had a little disagreement. And I think she might have misunderstood what I was trying to say. I think what we all want is affordable universal health care. And I'm happy to say that I support single payer to solve that problem. Now, what I would say as an economist is that I think there may be a more efficient, less costly, and more dynamic way for us to meet that or satisfy that outcome without relying exclusively on a single payer system. And why would I look for that option? Well, because the single payer option is going to put all of the cost of that health care on the taxpayer. So if we can avoid that, I'd like to do that, not to the extent of giving up on providing health care. So what I would propose is that we restructure the health insurance company. I know that some demonize the the insurance companies. I don't like them either. I mean, I have medical problems, my wife has medical problems, we've gone through this. We've gone around in circles, but there is one thing insurance companies do, and that is they take risk off of us. We pay them a premium, and they cover the costs. So, what I would say, and so the way they are performing now is they are reacting to the rules that we have imposed on them. So what I would say to you is that there is a way to restructure the insurance industry and allow that, and okay, that would that we could actually allow them to operate at a national level, that they would have a single pool for everybody, and that we could cap the prices for insurance at the lower incomes and allow them to increase or charge higher rates for those with a higher wealth or income. So what I'm saying to you is, let's not demonize the insurance companies. As much as we dislike them, let's use them to take the cost of health care off our back so that we can provide universal health care for everybody. I would say also, we need competition among healthcare providers. We do not have enough transparency into the price or the quality of care that our healthcare providers provide.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. And Andrew Duck?
Last time I kind of tried to speed round. I want to focus just on that one question about the rural-urban divide. And I want this to be almost a conversation.
What?
How many people in this room live in the 6th Congressional District? Less than half. Of the people that live in the 6th Congressional District, how many of you live in Western Maryland outside of Montgomery County? 50% of the population of this district is Western Maryland outside of Montgomery County. I appreciate our revolution. I work with our revolution. I help get our revolution Western Maryland started. I appreciate the fact that you're holding this forum. If I get elected to Congress, we're going to have a forum for the 6th Congressional District in the 6th Congressional District. We need to do a better job of reaching out to those people in Western Maryland. I don't know how many of you realize the city of Cumberland has half the population it used to. You talk about economic depression. We talk about progressive values. If we want to have progressive values, we need to bring those progressive values out to Western Maryland. You wonder why people supported Donald Trump? Because we, as Democrats, abandoned them. We abandoned them. We have a congressman right now representing this district that doesn't live in the district. We need to have someone who represents the 6th district, including every bit of Western Maryland. And I'm going to fight for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew Duck. So we're going to take a moment for a 10-minute break.